10 miles.
It's got to be a number that stops people from doing it.
Yeah. Let me pull up Twitch chat so I can see you guys.
It's probably
chatting.
a bigger number than I actually need, just because like it has to, right? Market demand. Right. As price goes up, demand supply can drop.
The first one will be 100 bits. The second one 1,000. The third, it's like, all right. Let's see.
I also don't want to be sweaty. So like it also is probably something that starts. I wish it would start more expensive at the beginning of stream and decline.
That's also antithetical to the chill stream mentality. Like this is the Chris gets sweaty stream. Is he doing something hard in 14?
To your top left.
Top. What do you mean? What's up? Oh yeah,
I can move do that. Camera to your top left.
Yeah, I have. Let me move mouse on my DPS. Let me.
I can't see your DPS.
Yeah, but
it's not on screen.
It will be.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll move that as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now you see it because it's like I'm moving. It was hiding behind my camera the whole time. All right, let's.
Mine doesn't show on my stream.
Well,
it's an overlay, and because of the window capture, it sits. I can see it over my game, but I'm not capturing my display. I'm capturing the application.
So
you can't see it.
It's running in shadow here, so that's why you see it. But when
you're capturing everything.
Yeah, I'm capturing everything. So when I get my new PC back, once they fix it, that actually won't be a thing because I'll actually go back to playing 14 in ultra wide screen, which is amazing. So let me angle my camera a little bit because
this section of cutscenes is 25 minutes. Really?
All right. So I got that up. Let me.
This is probably it. So there's probably an MSQ roulette day, and we'll go. But I have to have shoes on. There's got to be water. There's got to be a plan. This is not something that just organically pops up.
No, it's not organic. What is this?
It's probably, and it needs to be a dual stream day so that Brian's here.
Yeah, it helps. What's up, Chad? Let's see here. I'm making some changes.
I assume that. So I bet I could do one under 5 minutes. I bet it declines very quickly.
Yeah.
So, especially if I'm running one every hour for 6 hours, you're very quickly talking about me having run 5 or 6 miles across stream.
Yeah. That's
why
insane.
MMO mouse instead of controller? I think it's for Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, so I got an MMO mouse, and then I got this handy little keypad from Razer, the Tartarus Pro. And right now I don't have the MMO mouse comes tomorrow, but the keypad is kind of interesting. I thought this would be more of like an analog stick, but it's actually like a D-pad. Not a problem. That gives me 4 different buttons, but essentially okay.
Nothing.
So I was having it do my movement, but then I don't know if I really ultimately want that to do the movement case. Long story short, I'm playing around with some options. Excuse me. Mute. Stupid cough. Julie says that the cough should go away in a couple of days. Yes. But yeah, I'm gonna check it out for Guild Wars, as kind of the main control scheme there, because Guild Wars doesn't natively support a controller. And yes, I've hacked Guild Wars to use a controller. Yes, I put the guide out on Guild Wars running on controller. It's just so many steps and so annoying that it's not worth it. It just isn't worth it to take that extra step. All right, let's see here. I was going back here. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see here. I'm going to put... I'm just rearranging some stuff before we start diving in. Cool. Now, back here, let me actually grab Bane, because I think that would make the most sense there. I just had some ideas on Summoner today that I was like, I need to test. I need to see if they're working. Let's see here. Okay, so that's set up. I'm fine with that being over. No, actually, I do want that over here as well, because I'm trying to get less hoppy between what I'm doing on the Summoner, and then we'll see if that actually works better. Use a macros. So I do have that.
Tequila gets rid of coughs? What do you mean? Oh, I was thinking tequila shots the person because he's live right now.
Oh, yeah.
Got it.
I was like, how?
Does it really? Does it really? That's got to be a made up thing.
I don't know. It sounds legit, right?
That's got to be a made up thing. I think bourbon makes me care less if I'm coughing.
Okay, now I need.
All right, I need to get stream back up because I don't like that This is why I need a fourth monitor, because when I dual stream with Brian, I don't have anywhere to put his stream, so his stream is behind you guys.
See, I want to get another monitor as well. Like, how many monitors can you get, and then have it mounted so it's just like right up here, so I can.
So I can have 4 on this arm. So it has a left, a right, a top left, and a top right. And my graphics card has 4 outputs. After that, you start to have my CPU has to start doing some of the lifting, or you have to have multiple graphics cards. So to run more than 4 displays, you probably have more. You probably have more than one graphics card. You're starting to talk about a serious rig. The question is, where do they go? You probably have smaller monitors than me, because I went to go get like 24-inch monitors, and it was actually easier to get 27-inch monitors that did everything else I wanted them to do. So, because I wanted them to have 2 inputs, and I wanted them to have a decent refresh rate, and then these just happen to be curved, so that's kind of cool. So once I get the other ones, I'll be able to kind of loop it into one big curve. That should be really nice. Because right now I kind of sit on the right side of my desk. I'd be able to kind of be more centered. But I sit on the right now because I have to look at the TV. So that'll go away.
Oh, man.
Why does it feel like this boss just isn't taking damage?
Best way to go from here is to test.
Probably because people were AFKing. They just all got ported in. I was like, out of nowhere, the boss of hell is not moving. It's not happening.
All right. I'm gonna run some Eden. How much longer do you have on your run here?
We're on Ultima Weapon. So,
cool. So
I don't know.
Yeah, his 2 phases or whatever.
Why?
Well, no, it's like if this doesn't pop by the time you start getting done, then I'll bring you in with me if you want. It's up to you.
No, man. No, I did Eden like a dozen times yesterday. Today's crafting. I gotta get through these. I gotta get through these Skysteel tools. We're going full purple today. Well, as many purples as I can get to.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm up to. So I'm about to start on Goldsmith. So it'll be purple number 4.
Okay. Cool.
Out of 8.
4 of 8.
All right, we're gonna Benny this guy. There it is. The double. We've Bennied again. Oh, okay. You think it's a defensive stance. Got it. I was like, it felt like it just was not dying. Now it's blasting down. And then we just sit here again.
You sure the boss a defense until Heidelin's voice lines? Go Benny.
Oh, I did Benny. We Bennied.
He's got the Benny.
The Benny went out. We Bennied the tank the moment he hit half-life, and then they just didn't really lose that much life again.
You ever think they're going to come out with Half-Life 3?
No. I think the other thing is, like, just because something's called Half-Life 3, if you wait so long that it's totally different developers with totally different intentions, like, it's like the difference between Diablo 3 and Diablo 2. It's not the same thing. You know? It's not. Benny and the Jets.
Benny and the... Nice.
Oh, so I don't know.
All right, cool. And let me go back to Summoner. Cool. All right, we'll see here. Let's see how we do. See how we do, yo. Bum, bum.
The other question is there a way to stream my actual running? And is there a way to do it without doxing myself?
No, there's no way to not dox.
Because you're showing your location. So I would have to, like, schedule the run for another day and go somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, Brian, jeez. me just start off very poorly with my new layout. Perfect.
I should try a stream from a phone, and we could raise channel points for a run, and then we could go do like a 10-mile run on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Go run around White Rock Lake.
Oh, I should have a pet too. Jeez, I am like all kinds of fail today.
That's probably a better use of bringing more fitness in on stream. Is raise channel points towards a nice Saturday morning run. I mean, Pokemon Go streamers are a thing, so like there's a way.
You probably go to your own, like another location, you know, so it's not like, oh,
right.
I would assume, right?
Yeah. I think you park in a parking lot nearby, so you don't show your own license plate, and you go to a place. Mm-hmm. And you run a loop around a lake or a trail or something like that. There's a bunch in Dallas that are good. They're between like 7 and 12 miles long.
And you don't tell people you're doing it. Hey, are you in my area?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably a way. I mean, we had community events.
Yeah.
We had our happy hour.
That was fun.
That was at a real place.
Ah, Brian.
So, there's probably a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's the bigger issue. Privacy is just something. I don't know. I'm weird about privacy though.
Or you're safe.
Like,
I don't know. Like.
Yeah, but I'm weird about it. I'm definitely weird. I'm definitely on the uncomfortable end. I get uncomfortable if my wife puts my socks away. There's nothing in my sock drawer but my own socks. And I'm like, what are you doing in there? Like, I'm just weird about it. So, like, that's a personal hang up. You don't know how... No, I have no idea how some people... And then some people are just shocked. Like, they get shocked about their... They're like, oh, I can't believe I got doxxed. And it's like, and they have whole streams of having like house parties and they're outside and they're showing their address and like, it's like, because it takes 1 second to find you, right? Like, can you find anybody in the world with a single piece of information and enough time and resources? Yes. The world is just not that big anymore. But like, you don't have to make it easy.
Right.
Like, you don't have to show like a street sign and an address, which is like, you know, one of the most common ways of exchanging a physical location.
Right.
You don't have to put your birthday out online and be like, this is my birthday and this is how old I am. And this is my kid's birthday and this is when they were born. And this is my kid's first, middle, and last name.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to just list that in your bio. So that like literally your about page instantly tells me everything I need to know. I don't know. But I don't even stream under my first and last name, and there's plenty of that. You know, like Philip DeFranco. His name is Philip DeFranco.
Oh, you want to know his name?
It's right there. It's right there. So that's, you know, and as many DeFrancos as there probably are, like
in California,
yeah, dropping it to being Phillips, like probably pretty freaking quick. Now he's been doing it long enough and at a high enough level of resources that I assume his personal house is held in a trust or something like that, and not in it, you know. So I assume that he doesn't buy large purchases. If he has a yacht, I assume that he didn't buy it as Philip DeFranco. So I assume that even when he does a transaction and somebody Googles him, it's not made apparent. I assume, but like, how do you do things like when he books a flight? Like, he's big enough that somebody that works for the airline, like, I don't know. I assume that it just feels he's that guy that used to put his social security number on the side of that truck, right?
Yeah.
He had his identity stolen like 20 times. So he's like, oh, you can't steal my identity. No. Your service says that they'll detect somebody stealing your identity, not that they can't stop somebody from doing it. Like, there's a huge number of people out there like, challenge accepted.
Yeah. Smooth move.
you know, and like I know Philip has had people come like knock on his door and be like, "Hey, I'm a huge fan." That's weird. That's weird. I wouldn't go knock on a coworker's door and be like, "Hey, I found out where you, like, these are people I've worked with for months. We've been to lunch together. I've met their spouses. I know their kids' names, and I would not just go knock on their door." Like, what? I didn't know it used to be SXE, Phil. I didn't know that.
Used to be what?
What's up? What's up, Death Monkey?
What's XE?
He used to be SXE Phil. Like Sexy Phil.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know. Like I didn't know he changed it to his name. Well, maybe his last name's really DeFranco. That's his best bet. Is that he has a stage last name that he tacked that on.
Oh, Brian.
That DeFranco is, you know, his best friend's growing up's grandmother's maiden name, and he's just like, "Oh, I always liked that name." Like, that's his best bet, is that knowing his last name doesn't act as any form of identifier. You know, it's the name of a dry cleaners near his house.
Oh, come on! Oh, I died. Like, I was sitting here for like, I'm like doing horribly,
it's straight edge.
And
right,
still I'm like in the and doing well. Like, but doing horribly. Like, this is a great, horrible... He changed his name?
He changed his name, or he just changed his name publicly? So, like, I went to college with a guy who was going to become a doctor, and his dad stepped out, like, super, super, super young. Like, doesn't really remember his dad. And, like, his dad was around, like, for, like, coming by on his birthday and dropping off a card. So, like, but his dad was, like, an absentee uncle. And his mom got remarried to this guy that, like, that's the that's his cousins, that's his aunts and uncles, like, that's his dad. Like, he has a father, and that guy sent him $5 on his birthday. And then he has a dad. And his dad, and becoming a doctor in the United States is still kind of a prestigious thing. Like saying your brother or your son is a doctor, like, that's still kind of a point where, like, those around you brag about you. They're excited for you. Like, they know it took a huge amount of work. And so it's still kind of a prestigious thing. And so as a result, like, you becoming a doctor isn't just for you. Like, your parents are there. They do a ton for you to get you into medical school and support you. And, you know, even if it's just giving you a place to do your laundry or whatever in summers, like, it takes a village for somebody to become a doctor. Very few people just totally do it on their own, go secure funding and all of that. It's usually an enormous sacrifice of time, energy, and often resources of many people that care for you to make sure that you have everything you need to become a doctor. And then he went and subspecialized after that once he did that. And so he's an impressive guy, and he wanted that to mean something to more than just him. And so he changed his name in college. And so, like, I know him as a different name than he is because he changed his name in college before, in undergrad, so that all of his diplomas and his last name as a doctor are there to honor a family that means more to him.
Right.
Like, and I'm not any different. Like, my last name is different than my whole family's.
It was Francini. That sounds like a good Italian name. Hey, it's Philip Francini.
But the problem is you still know it. So, like, the problem is it's not any private.
Hey, Philip Francini.
I mean, I guess there's a little more because, like, it's not just right there on his channel name. Chill, thanks for raiding with a party too. Thanks. How are you guys doing?
How was your stream?
So, like, I think, like, I thought about changing my name because,
stream?
Like, I have a different last name.
Oh, I gotcha.
No, like, in real life, because my last name, like, if I ever did something that honored my family, like, I don't really have a connection to the people that share my last name. I don't really, like, there are a few of them that, you know, like, maybe there's a Christmas card back and forth, but, like, that's it. Like, it's not people I talk to regularly. It's not people that when I pass through a part of the country that they live in that we have to stop. We got to at least have a meal with them. Like, that, it's not there, as opposed to, like, when my wife and I went, you know, did a road trip through an area where my stepdad, my dad's family lived, we did stop and we did say hello.
Yeah.
And so, like, and not because my wife's like, oh, well, how many times have you seen them growing up? Not that many, but, like, they mean a lot to my family, and so it doesn't matter. Like
Right.
like there's a relationship with your family that's just like you're just part of this collective. You're part of the clan, and it doesn't matter. We're in the area where part of my clan lives, and we're gonna say hello, right? Part of our tribe.
Hey, what's
And
up, Peachy?
so,
It's a
like, that's what a last name means to me. Is it's this group of people that you unconditionally make room for in your life, whether they're the people you would choose or not, and or whether the people you have chosen. I mean, I happen to like a lot of his family, but it doesn't mean I've made time for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter. We stopped and we said hello. And we had a nice time. We had a meal and we went and saw some stuff. It was great.
It was great.
They made some recommendations for later in our trip that we ended up following. We had a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do that with my dad's family and like my actual biological father's. And so like I got why when he changed his name, I almost changed mine just at the same time because I was like, I was like, that makes no sense to me. Why would you ever change your name unless it's like you're getting married and you're like, that's a common thing in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't like, unless you're like, why would you change your name just to change your name? And actually it's like, no, it's the exact same set of reasons for why many women in the U.S. change their name when they get married. It's the exact same reason. Is he was part of a different family than his surname suggested.
And Peachy says that they used to play this game, but it's just too slow. It's like, I hear that. We hear that.
All right. So I've done my main scenario for the day. Let's go do my dailies, and then we'll get back to some crafting and gathering.
Oh,
so we're gonna go work on Phil dailies. Phil, what's going on? Brian's coming and hanging out for a bit.
Jeez,
I don't know how long his day lasts. This was not a planned co-stream.
No, not planned.
On in.
I was like, hey, I got a little time this morning. I got a little time.
We've got some planned stuff coming up. I know on the 1st we're going to be playing Outriders, and so that's a planned co-stream. So I think Brian's taking the day off work, and so we'll have a full 6 hours. We may actually extend that stream, so we'll look at possibly maybe starting a little bit early. I don't know if we'll end late. We may just start a little early, but I may start an hour early so that we can push that to be in 7 hours. I don't really like doing like super marathon streams. Like I kind of view this much closer to a radio show and less of like a live form of kind of. And so like with a radio show, like you deliver at the level that you can deliver the energy. And so like these people that do 24 hours, some people can do 24-hour full energy, but a lot of times these 24-hour streams, see people just dragging. And so it's much more of like a question of stamina, and like it's this active service. That's not really how I view streaming. There's definitely people that view it more that way, that it's more of a way of serving a community. I view it much more of. So what am I doing here?
That I don't know.
To obtain. I've literally never done this quest. While transparent, retrieve ritual artifacts. Now you see me, now you see me, now you see me. There you go. Okay. And then is this a buff that's going to wear off? It is a buff that's going to wear off. Fantastic. I've never done a quest like this. Okay. And we got to go to now you see me. Got it. All right. What a neat quest. What's up here? What a neat quest.
4, 3, 2.
Why was this never reused? Do we often play together? When we have time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what started the channel, is that we used to play games together. It's just a time issue. Like, the further you get into adulthood, the further that like things like gaming just fall. They just like Brian's got a job and 5 kids, and
this don't pay the bills.
it's just different. So oh, I'm not invisible now. So now I can't. Can I get these still? Oh, yes, I still can. Oh, well then why was I invisible?
Why was I invisible the whole time?
I was like, oh, this is so cool. Oh, it didn't matter. All right. Oh, Okay, so you have to be invisible while getting the ritual artifact specifically. All right, let's go back and get invisible then. I got it. I don't know that 3 kids and 5 kids has drastically changed the way I interact with Brian.
Oh, no.
So
there's like a maximum threshold that like it's like, okay, that's the difficulty level, and it doesn't really get harder than that. I think the number's 4. What hit me? What did I mess up? What did I mess up on? What the heck?
What do you mean what hit you?
I don't know. Like, I was just standing there.
There's a raid wide that goes out.
Yeah, but I was fine on life. I avoided. I don't know.
Did you die?
Yeah, I did. That's why I was like, wait, what killed me?
There's a couple of slashes that are not telegraphed very well.
Yeah, I guess
But
maybe
they still have ground effects. I don't know.
I gotta move.
There's raid wides that go out, but you would have had to have a vuln stack to be one shot.
Yeah, I probably had a vuln stack.
Yeah. If you have a couple of vuln stacks, the raid wide will kill you as a caster. All right. So we got to go get this artifact, and you basically have 30 seconds. It's a fun quest type. I've literally never done this. So let's go grab ritual artifact. Okay,
oh.
That's it. And then what? There's one more. Oh. Where's the other one?
4. 3,
it's over there.
2.
So then it falls off because I'm not going to get back in time. Oh, no! So then I have to start over? This doesn't feel right. Can I mount as Invis? If I can mount as Invis, this is a game changer.
Game changer. Oh, God. Just take that.
I've literally never done this. Butter Cookies, thanks for hitting follow. All right, we're doing it here. Serious.
It'd always be refreshing.
Making me Invis. Cannot execute it this time, so you cannot mount.
Oh, man. Yeah,
you do have to do it in...
Go ahead, sorry.
Ridiculous. You have to do this in 2 runs.
Yeah, like you're not alone in that mindset, Peachy. Like the MSQ asks a lot of players. It's interesting that there are definitely those in the community that don't understand because the story connected for them, that why it doesn't connect for everybody. And it's like it does or it doesn't. Like humans are interesting when it comes to this game. I like to treat this as a single player Final Fantasy game that has an MMO endgame that you can choose to engage with. And if you go in with that mindset, I honestly think it ends up being just a better overall experience. But there are also those who don't like that critique of the game. They're like, no, this is the most amazing MMO ever. Yeah, it is. Like, I've played almost 5,000 hours of this game. I'm either crazy. I probably am crazy, but, you know, like it is what it is.
Can I make it to that one? I think I can make it.
I think I can.
Man, this is a really far run for this one. It's a fun quest type. I think it's weird that I've never done anything like this. Like, as long as I've been playing this game, they never reused this. Unless there's another Beast Tribe that has it.
Cool. Got the scroll.
But you have to go get Invis, and you have to basically checkpoint your way
through it, yeah.
Through all these various Invises. Like, and if it falls off, you have to start over.
All right, let's take a look and see how we... I have a feeling I know what it's going to tell me what I'm messing up on.
Got it. I mean, if you died, that's going to be the top thing. It's going to say, don't die.
Don't die. Dumbass.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like, it's definitely a to each their own kind of game in that regards. Like, I think the thing that attracts me to Final Fantasy XIV was the same thing that attracted me to Final Fantasy XI, was the Final Fantasy side of it. And then currently being processed. And then after that aspect, it's like, cool. Like, what else is there to be there? Then it's like you kind of find this community and you end up playing, and it's like playing with Chris, playing with y'all. Yeah, like it ends up being like that. That's why I keep playing. Outside of that, like, you know, Chris and I've talked about it on Work to Game numerous times. The just like once you also see the pattern, you can choose to opt onto the gear treadmill, or you can choose not to opt onto the gear treadmill. The game's very generous when it comes to that aspect, right? So it's like, okay. So I choose to opt off the gear treadmill. It's like, I'm just going to consume this, and then if they want to bring out something that I really want and I really want to see in this game, yeah, I'll probably consume it like crazy. But
I'm looking forward to the farming content. So
yeah, exactly.
Inventory management is a hard thing for MMOs. And so like a crafting material library, somewhere you can, I'm really interested to see how that feels in Guild Wars 2, because when you get a crafting material or whatever in the world, you just push a button and it just shoots it off to some bank. So it just shoots off to some imaginary void where all that stuff is being stored. I have no idea if it has a cap, what sets the restrictions around it, but it's definitely a thing that's happening. Because like every time my inventory is full, I push deposit and it like gives me a little bit of breathing room, because every item in my inventory that's not a thing I need. Oh, whoa. Cooldown complete. Hype train ready to leave the station. Oh, thank you, Twitch.
Thanks, guys.
So like, the inventory management's one of the things that can make a game feel very cumbersome. You don't want to make it too easy, right? Because like there is a component to like needing other players and all of that, and not just, well, every time I need an item, it's just been arbitrarily stored in this unlimited place and it just pulls from it. Because it is an option to make things engaging and kind of encourage free market. I don't know. It's definitely a thing. And so in theme park MMOs, it's nice to have materials kind of spread across it where you're like, oh, I don't have that because I didn't keep it because I didn't need it for the last 2 years, and now I need to go gather it. So I don't know how they do that. The retainers costing money. I think honestly, 2 retainers is good for most people. Right. And if you need more than 2 retainers, if you legit need more than 2 retainers, it's probably because of the ability to list more than 40 items.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're probably holding on to things that would be under an hour to replace total. And like, you probably don't need it. Or it could be stored in your glamour dresser or something like that. So in the majority of cases, you don't need more than 2 retainers unless you're playing a lot. And the idea that a game says, hey, it's $15 a month, but if you're playing more than 50 hours a week and you're crafting and gathering a lot and you're trying to be a billionaire, would you mind paying 17? That it doesn't bother me personally. I know there's people that feel really frustrated with the way retainers work, but it doesn't bother me. I think it's a fair value proposition.
Peachy, have you ever thought about like just skipping straight into like Shadowbringers? Because essentially, like that's actually the advice I'm kind of pondering as the game continues to go into Endwalker. Because with New Game Plus, the biggest hurdle that a lot of people have is getting through ARR, and it's like I'm kind of at the point where it's like, all right, guys, I know that like jump potions are don't talk about jump potions, but like just start with Shadowbringers. That story like picks up. You don't need to know anything about anything, and it's going to introduce you to the world. And then it's like, oh, I really like that. Like then you can sit back and say, okay, cool. Maybe you do other things, you know. And then you go back through New Game Plus, and then it kind of experience what led up to Shadowbringers, and then you go Shadowbringers forward. So you don't have to sit here and worry about being impatient with the slow combat, because that, or they just need to bring more of off the global cooldown abilities to gamers before level 15, because it's like just get a little bit more of that action going on at the early stages of the game.
The reason retainers are not a one-time purchase, guys, is straight up data management. Like this game really struggles from, it's just a constant complaint that they leverage.
Yeah.
And the way they set up Glamour, because you can dye things and all of that, like they just didn't set it up in a way that it could be managed better from the get-go, and it's led to a ton of problems. The cosmetic systems in other games are just objectively better. This, you're physically storing that item. There's no reason for that. I only want it for the appearance.
Right.
So just track every appearance as the game that I either have unlocked on a character or I don't, and then like delete the item. Don't store that. Like my character has this many items unlocked and this many don't. And when I put it in the glamour dresser, but you can actually extract items from the glamour dresser. You can pull that item back out. And that's so weird. Like just tell, like track it like achievements. I have that item or I don't.
Right.
And so that's an issue. I would challenge that if you have 400 items in your glamour dresser, while I understand that, and then you also have 2 retainers entirely filled with glamour, that unless you have an objective of like collecting every single glamour in the game or something like that, 50 seconds to complete the task.
I don't think you can without spending extra money. I don't think you can have every glamour in this game without actually spending, more than just
outside of a challenge like that. I would say, like, if you're thinking you're actually using them, you're not. You're not. Like, I promise there's glamour somewhere in your inventory you have not used for a year or more. You're just not. Like, if you have, because what is that? 700 items? Not every inventory slot, even like things like belts, don't even change your appearance. So there's no reason to keep those.
Right. And then soon we can delete belts.
So I would love for them to have a better system, but like 400 glams in your dresser and 2 retainers entirely filled with glam means you're probably holding on to things that you don't need. Old relics that you could go buy a replica of if you want. Dungeon loot that if you decided you wanted it back, you could go farm the dungeon. The gear's not gone. And so it's a $20, 20-minute issue. If it's a item that could be crafted, you could have your crafters at cap and you effectively have that item anytime you want it. Anytime you want it, you just make it again. There's nothing unique about that instance of that item versus just recrafting it for the appearance. And so just delete it. Get it gone. Things from old primals, weapons from things like Titan and Ifrit and all that. Delete them. If you're not actively using it in a glamour plate right now, delete it. Blue Mage kills Ifrit and Titan in under 10 seconds. Under 10 seconds. Now, what's the total loot table on these primals? 8 items? 20 items? Okay, 10 seconds times 20 is 200 seconds. You're 3 or 4 minutes from getting it back.
Hey, nobody said doing math here on stream.
So it's so fast. It's nothing. It's under 10 minutes to get it back. It's free.
Yeah.
Just delete it. And so, like, a lot of people are keeping things that they'll never, ever use. They'll never, ever, ever use. You're just hoarding things. And so, like, do I wish the game didn't penalize you for being a hoarder? Yes, because there's no reason to penalize people for being a hoarder. Build a better system. WoW lets me hoard.
Build a better
Let
system.
people hoard. Let people hoard. I have the first blue item that ever meant anything to me from WoW.
Yeah.
That is a 15-year-old blue that I could farm up another of in 2 seconds, and I didn't get rid of it because it doesn't matter. I don't need the space. And in 14, I'm forced to... I have my very first Nintendo because, like, I've never had to get rid of it. But, like, Final Fantasy forces me to address it. Final Fantasy forces... That's, like, it's frustrating. But at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
There are some seasonal events that stuff doesn't come back around, and then I would just challenge you to ask yourself, do you ever see yourself using it? Not, well, I could. Not, could you see yourself using it?
Right.
Like, do you actually see yourself using it? And there are some glams that I'm just like, honestly, I will always like other appearances that do the same thing better. Okay, then delete it. Just get it gone.
Get it gone.
And people who do the fashion reports and stuff, a lot of times they pile a lot of this stuff up, but it's you're just piling it up. I don't know.
I think that's what I gotta do. Okay.
400 item slots plus 2 retainers is more than enough. And if you have more than that, the idea that an extra 24, you're playing this game a number of hours, we're collecting an extra $24 a year from you is not a totally ridiculous, outlandish thing. Like, is it frustrating? Yes. But, like, you're probably playing this game more than any other game you play. And, you know, it's like, okay, so I'm paying $15 a month times 12. What's that? And you're probably buying it 6 months at a time because you know you're not quitting. So you're probably getting a discount. Paying an extra $2, paying an extra $24 a year to expand your inventory. Like, dude, you're using this game more than everybody else.
Right. And Gomero says that they have that problem. They need to stop being attached to so many of their items. And I was like, yeah. That's why whenever they announce more inventory space for this game, it's just like standing applause. Guys, we found out a way to give you 25 more slots in your main inventory. That solves all of my problems.
But it doesn't solve your problem, because your problem is that you keep everything you acquire and you're always going to acquire more.
Yeah, like
if there was a specific number, let's say that number was 1,000.
Yeah.
If you had 1,000 slots, you'd be able to do whatever you want, and it was a finite number. Getting to that number should be goal number one, but it's not. The people who are unhappy with 600 will be unhappy with 1,000, and they will eventually be unhappy with 2,000 and 3,000 and 27,000.
They'll be unhappy by trying to manage that volume.
They will always be unhappy.
You bought a bigger house and now you have like 10 couches you got to move around, and you're complaining because your back hurts? Yeah, of course it hurts.
It's dumb that housing items don't stack.
Yeah. And no worries, Peachy. Like, you can criticize this game all day. I wouldn't do it on Reddit, but you can always tell me what you don't like about the game, or like what your thoughts are there, because it doesn't bother me. I don't feel insulted.
So I don't know. It just, I will tell you, as somebody with 4 retainers, managing 4 retainers is a giant pain. And so the people who, like, it's not a cost issue that stops me from jumping to 6 or 10. It's, I don't want to, that menu is so cumbersome. I don't want to have 6 to, like, that's awful.
I want to summon Bahamut.
That's awful.
What the heck?
The only reason I'd want more is for ventures, and like, I don't want to click that menus to complete and send out ventures. I want one button to complete and send out all ventures. If they combine all their inventories into one, and they let me have send all ventures out and receive all ventures in one click, then I can see having more. But until then, like, having 10 retainers, that's 5 minutes every time they send out. And there are people who are like, I have 10 and I send them out every hour. Do you just spend all of your time at the bell? Like this is ridiculous. So the game is not well set up for it. Money is not the issue. So the MSQ roulette, skip. That's a saga. So when we had MSQ roulette, we needed people to do it because new players have to get it done. And so we encouraged it by having MSQ roulette alternate between Castrum and Praetorium, so that when a new player hits that point, they immediately get a group relatively fast, no matter what role they're playing. So we encouraged people to do it by setting the reward. Then people found, oh my god, this reward's really fast if you just blast through it. So people were pulling so fast that new players were getting there, and they were watching a cutscene and watching a cutscene and watching a cutscene, and they couldn't even make it to the bosses because you had to run to all the bosses back then. So then, if that person was a tank or a healer, groups would kick them because they're not contributing.
Right.
So now you have a new player no longer getting the content that was literally set aside so that new players could get the content. And you're taking new players. The only thing that breathes lifeblood into this game long term is veterans take breaks or get bored or to achieve everything they want to achieve. And you're causing them to have a miserable experience and quit. So now you're not only not helping the problem, you're actively making it worse. So they said, you know what? We'll make them not skippable, and we'll jack the reward up. So now the reward's insane.
Yeah.
Well, then people were like, well, what if they made it skippable only if there's nobody new in here? I can tell you this community real quick would try to single out the person that was causing them to not be able to skip. So they've jacked the reward up to 9 bajillion experience. Now at this point, when we pull an encounter, if it's been more than 15 seconds, it sucks the person into the encounter. So we fixed the running part, but honestly, what they should do is they should move that to being a scenario where we experience it through a brief series of fights and a huge number of cutscenes, and then that encounter is just lost in the log, and the roulette to run it disappears altogether. We have plenty of other sources of experience in this game at this point. We should just delete the MSQ roulette. It's outlived its purpose. We have better ways of delivering story now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We have better ways of getting experience that are more engaging. It should just be gone. It's reached the end of its life. It served a function. We learned how to build better content. We built better content. We enjoy better content. Why are we still doing this? Like, just call it what it was. And I'm not saying delete those instances totally from the game.
Trust system.
So you could close the game and boot back in. The problem is, like, you're still going to have people get pushed through all of them. I don't know. There's no good way, because there were people who wanted to see the bosses, and there was no way to see the bosses without skipping the cutscenes, but they wanted to experience the cutscenes. Oh, Inferno, I'm saying get rid of it and don't require new players to find parties. Build a single-player scenario that takes place in the MSQ. Build a Praetorium and Castrum single-player scenario with the trust system that is a handful of encounters with a 4-man trust, because honestly, most of those things you're just clicking missiles on Livia, etc. Most of those bosses, you're not actually doing your rotate. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. None of it matters. You can't die in it. So just build a scenario that kind of hits the high notes, plays the cutscenes, and delete, and then just get rid of it altogether. It's a miserable new player experience, and in order to make it the best new player experience of the options, we've had to make it a miserable experience for everybody else. So people are having varying levels of misery. and that is because we have sought out the optimum minimum level, which is still well on the spectrum of this is awful. And for people who are like, I like it, it's a nice refresher. Have you done it 50 times?
Have you met my friend?
Like, it's so bad. It's so bad. I don't know what Twitch is doing today. My video is not available.
Weird.
I don't know. My video says it's not available, and I just refresh, and it's fine. I have dropped... I dropped a bunch of frames just now. Maybe my wife's uploading. Let me ask her. I don't know. Like, so as a tank, there are some mandatory deaths that you take. As a tank, like especially in Praetorium, there's a couple of moments where the tank pulls things and then everybody walks through the door and then the tank is left alone to die. And that's the optimized plan. Like, that's us optimizing the route. So as a tank, there are a couple of, like, just forced deaths. But yeah, they could easily let us run it with effectively a squadron or a trust of people. My wife says her connection's slow, but she didn't have to upload. So it's probably my ISP today. Oh, it's happening on other streams as well. Okay. I'm not dropping any frames right now, but I dropped a bunch earlier. I dropped a bunch between the last time I checked. I'm dropping 0 right now. Smooth as butter.
Buttery smooth.
Sometimes Twitch has bad days. They have a big platform to run.
Well, like they're just a startup, guys.
They got a lot of people running content to them, and none of us have to pay them for space. So when people are like, I don't know, I hate that Twitch has ads. It's like, who do you think is paying for this?
Man, I feel like I'm almost done with this cold, but I still have this like random cough.
That's weird.
Starting Shadowbringers with a trust, a great better way than squadrons for completing dungeons. Yes, 100%.
So it's iterative. So we started with companions. We started with chocobos out in the world, and then we moved to squadrons for dungeons.
Yeah,
and then we moved to trusts for dungeons. And so, like, it is by far the best solution. Everything in this game tends to be completely iterative in that, like, we don't go backward with a lot of systems. A lot of times when we make something better, it's from that point moving forward. And so, I don't know. Every time I refresh, it seems to be good for like another 2 hours, but it's done it twice now. I went offline for like 10 seconds, and then oh, all right. Well, okay. I've been here. We're just cranking through it. Doing my Sylph dailies. Place vegetables around the Hawthorne hut. Okay. Let's go do that. You had issues with upload speed, but you changed Twitch server from Atlanta to DFW. Oh, well, maybe one of the other servers is having a problem and it's not routing well. Some ISPs do a better job routing some of your services than others. Like, it's why services like Exit Lag, No Ping, NordVPN, it's why they exist. Is not only is that a privacy thing and an advantage of doing region locked content, but it also allows you to have some manual control where when they optimize kind of the route of the highway from their end, they're like, hey, 95% of applications will run perfectly. It's like, great, that doesn't help me if my one application isn't on that list, and so they may have a terrible route for Final Fantasy or something like that, especially if you're playing like Korean-based MMOs or something where your servers have, some pretty substantial distance.
Yeah.
A suboptimal route is a problem. Like for Final Fantasy, servers are in Burbank. Like it's got to go from Dallas to California. Like it's not a big deal. It can only do it so inefficiently. But if I start playing something in Japan, like it can make a pretty substantial difference. And then I don't know how Twitch handles getting things across the ocean. That's hard. I know for things like Netflix and stuff, they keep caches on either end, so you're not streaming you're streaming your movie from somewhere local. That way they're not paying to ship that same footage over and over and over.
Because they have to pay
and so
for
I
that.
assume YouTube leans more that direction. I assume YouTube caches a bunch of videos. But streaming data, that's not an option. Like whatever I play after I finish this quest hasn't been decided yet. So there's no way for them to cache in advance. So when people watch from across the world, they just got to deal with that. So I can't imagine how much they spend on data. Because that is not free. Because you can watch this stream from anywhere in the world. And they are paying for that.
And I died again. Perfect, just a way to die 30 times in a run. Yay.
All right. Has Square mentioned anything in the next expansion to improve the new player experience? Recently had a friend switch from WoW 14 and told him he wouldn't be able to play together for 3 months. Depends on how often he plays. So he told him to buy a skip because he knew he wouldn't last 3 months. So it depends on how often they play, right? So if you play video games 1 to 2 nights a week, 1 to 2 hours, like 3 months is a very real number. Right? And so like it just depends on kind of and so I will tell you the groundwork is there. First of all, Shadowbringers was an expansion written for people who use story skips.
Yep.
Not exclusively for them, but meant to include them. So already they have proven, hey, we know people are using these skip potions that we sold them. New Game Plus is now fully inclusive of the story, and so you're not, like, one of the other things is skip potions before telling a new player to skip, and then being like, okay, well now I want to go back and do ARR. It's like, oh, well, unless you create a new character, there's no way to do that. That was a problem. So now pushing skip potions is no longer a penalty, other than the fact that when they do New Game Plus, they are not getting experience. So they're basically...
Yeah, like 100% Esper. Like, that's the thing I'm struggling with most. I've been rearranging my entire setup, so it's like, even sometimes I'm like, oh wait, I need to press that button. Oh wait, I didn't do that. We are going to wrap things up in a neat little bow. Now, we don't know, that doesn't mean all of our characters have to die and cannot have a place in the new story, but it is meant to bring a lot of the ongoing conflicts to a close. And with 6.1, we will have a new story that begins anew, which means not only is it written to include new players hopping on at this point, but 6.1, we are all going to be new.
And so it gives them the option to, if they wanted, put 6.1 as the new on-ramp. And so if they wanted, they could have us do 6.0 and medias res, and people are just confused, and you're welcome, and you're invited to go back and get more story, right? So you kind of go into Marvel Endgame, and if you want to know who some of those heroes are that you don't know, you can go back and watch their separate films. But moving forward after that, you will have the ability to... I expected to be able to get up there, but I can't. So you will be able to hop in at 6.1. So I will say that, even if our new allies are the same allies that we have in 6.0 story, and they're helping us out and they're still around, that it'll be a new conflict. It'll be a new thing that'll take us somewhere. And I think that's an opportunity for them to invite new players in a more meaningful way. So there is no specific plans for a better Hall of the Novice, a better onboarding experience for people that want to use skips, including skips in the purchase of the game or something like that, or discounting them during new player campaigns. There is no plan for anything along those lines, but the groundwork that would need to be taken care of for things like that not to have enormous holes in them has and is continuing to be laid. Where am I supposed to be? Dude, just take my carrots, man.
Just take them. Boom, boom, boom. All right, let me go turn this in this quest. I think I almost have it for summer. The only problem is that like it is in chat saying like such a tunnel vision experience where it's like, good night, man, messed up again.
Oh, if your interest is in-game rating, it is an incredibly single-player narrative-based experience. If your interest is just story, I have bad news. You're going to have to run some dungeons, and they have to be run with groups. But like, if your interest is in-game rating, it is like a 2.5-second cooldown with things like Protect off the bar. There are less abilities in ARR now than ever before.
Yeah.
We are continuing to strip abilities, and as we add more abilities in Endwalker, they're going to do some more pruning. It is possible that ARR gets even drier, and you don't have off the global cooldowns when you first start. So if you come from another MMO and your goal is in-game rating, the actions per minute and the amount of group content is incredibly light. The ability for your allies to help you in things like single-player scenarios is non-existent. It's a miserable experience from somebody who's, say, a Mythic Raider in WoW and wants to come join this. And what it should be is, like, Ethis himself came to this game for the raiding, found that he liked some of the story, that it was either behind the raids, and then became the person we know today. And so just because somebody comes in and you feel that their values doesn't align with where a portion of the community is, doesn't mean that they can't change. And so we should invite people in of all walks of life, and say, hey, come play this game whatever way you way. You're not hurting anybody. They're not saying they want to come in grief. They're saying, I want to come in and play differently. That's fine. Knock yourself out. And then once you're here and you've found that different way and you say, hey, my raid isn't till this Thursday and I'm on a Wednesday. Is there anything else I can do? Yeah, what else do you like? Well, like, we're fighting this boss. I don't really know why we're fighting him. Okay. Let's go get you educated on who that boss is. Like, this game is enormous, but somebody doesn't have to agree to, devour the entire thing in its entirety and enjoy all of it or nothing. Like, they can come in, and as long as they feel that for the purchase price and the subscription, that whatever sliver they want is enough, that is their call to make. Yeah. For $15, I just want to come in and do Lords of Verminion. Okay. It's not my thing, but knock yourself out, man. Like, as long as you feel that's worth it. Like, in one of the live letters, they implied that there are people playing this game, and when they look at their playtime, all they're doing is Mahjong. I have no ability to relate to that. It does not bother me in the slightest. Thank you for supporting a game that I like things that you're not playing. I haven't even finished unlocking Mahjong.
I think the key is as long as like you kind of say, hey, this is what I want, and then as long as that gets delivered at a reasonable expectation and threshold, then I think essentially it's like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I'm here every 6 months for the raids, or I'm here every 2 years for the story. Because if you're just here for the story, play this game every 2 years. You know, like you'll spend 2 to 3 months and you'll have a great time. And that's actually probably a majority of the player base. And then if you're here for like community, if you're here for like all these other things, it's kind of, these are like just additional attractions within the theme park itself.
So Thursday's Inferno for this month are side content. And so I was doing a lot of Blue Mage. I've done a lot of Triple Triad. Like Thursdays are just straight up me dumping things. Right now I'm probably going to be doing a lot of esoterics. So for the next month, Thursdays are going to be just nonstop esoterics. There's a good chance. Like it doesn't really matter. I could learn. I've played Mahjong like as a game in my life. So I need a refresher, but like I have played Mahjong. 14 didn't invent it by any means. So
Right.
I've played it, just not on this platform. My understanding is like as a digital online like party finding platform, 14 in some regions of the world is actually like really dominating in the Mahjong market, and so that's why some people play it. Is that like apparently it's
the best
like,
version of digital Mahjong.
It's one of the better versions of Mahjong out there, which just really speaks poorly of anybody making just a Mahjong only game.
It's like this MMO
Do you
is
get anything useful
crushed.
for esoterics or just vanity stuff? Just vanity stuff. You get mounts, minions. There's some like map speed boosts on there if you don't fly, but you can fly in every zone now. So, well, in every expansion now, not every zone, but you can fly in every expansion now. So it's not like, I don't know why. I bought Papados, but I didn't buy that. I didn't buy the other thing I needed. So we're gonna get back to crafting. I did my sylphs. I'm trying to do at least one a day. One beast tribe a day. Just because like that slowly ticks away at finishing all my beast tribes. There's no rush. They're not going anywhere. So I could solo Aram Vale. During the PSO2 event, I'll probably just be MSQ rouletting because then 14's not taking any of my attention. So, not sure if any of you are excited about PSO2. New Genesis, I know like it doesn't have an enormous audience out there yet, especially New Genesis because it's not out yet. But yeah, I'll probably stream tomorrow. A good portion, not all the stream, will be listed as Final Fantasy 14. So I'll be MSQ rouletting on stream, and then we'll do PSO2 events in the background. In the back half of stream tomorrow, we'll do... what do I need? I need something. I need tough whetstones. Tough whetstones. Please don't be expensive. Please don't be expensive. There's an event. Well, that one's cheap. How many do I need? All right. Well, thank you for 5 of the 30 I need for nothing.
For nada.
But yeah, there's plenty of in-game, but it's different. I think our in-game is still pretty traditional. It's instances for groups with 4-man that are fairly easy. It's larger instances for things like 8-man that scale up in difficulty. It's occasionally very, very difficult stuff. And then there's 24-man that's probably somewhere in between. It's easy. It's harder than a dungeon, but it's not hard. You're grinding up gear, which drives up your eye level, which makes you stronger. You're running dailies with a group of people that will give you a mount. I think it's fairly traditional in an MMORPG standpoint. They definitely have their own flavor of it, but I think it's... The end game in this game is not innovative in that way. Like, it's not the bar of, like, why is no one else doing this? Of course they're doing this. Like, it's the recipe. Their version of it is different than the way Dungeons and Raids feel in other games, but it's still Dungeons and Raids for a gear treadmill.
Yeah. The nice thing is the treadmill is completely optional. Because if you take a break, you can step out and you can go, hey, cool. You come back, they're just going to feed you the gear, get you caught up. That's where it's like, to the person this is their 4th expansion, and they're like capping every week, and they're like right at the cutting edge, and then they complain about how it's so easy for other people to get caught up to them. I'm going to be like, dude, it's been that way for 6 years. I don't like it either in terms of kind of like how it feels. So I just opt out, and I'm the guy who just catches up to you. Okay. And I guess that's kind of the veteran's curse.
Wow, amazing. I did that. Did you see that, guys? That was amazing. All right, let's just make more. Do it. Go. I would love to see hard small man content.
Yeah.
It's a resources issue. They've looked at what they would have to divert to make it happen, and they've looked at what they believe they would get back as a response, which is not always spot on. They've admitted more than enough times. We're getting possibly more deep dungeon next expansion, and the reason they're exploring how to make that happen is because they were shocked at how many people complained that deep dungeon didn't make it into this expansion as a system, that it got cut from the Shadowbringers roster.
Yeah,
they looked at how many people engaged with it in Stormblood, and they said, okay, well, people don't like deep dungeon, so we'll cut it. So apparently not enough people were doing Heaven on High because it got cut from Shadowbringers, and to make room for other things, and they made Eureka that much bigger, I think, as a result. So Eureka does a lot of the things as far as like leveling alts and giving you a place to taste jobs that aren't max level. Like it kind of steps in that way, not in exactly the same format by any means.
Yeah.
And so they cut it and they said, you know what? These are the elements of Deep Dungeon we think people will miss. We'll insert those into Eureka. The other elements of Deep Dungeon we think people can get from Palace of the Dead and Heaven on High. And so we just won't make another one. And then they were like, oh, I guess we're wrong. And so Deep Dungeon is a side form of progression. You go into a dungeon, and if you die, it's over. It's an endless run. It can be done in anything from 1 to that 4-man party size. And each floor has different kind of like modifiers and bosses, and you get these little items you can use that have different effects, like freezing everything on the floor or killing everything on the floor or making you really strong or whatever. And so for WoW players, it's basically something like Torghast Tower. So it's and clearing it solo, clearing all 200 floors of Palace of the Dead, the one for the early levels, or Heaven on High, clearing all 100 floors, are some of the hardest things you can do. It is some of the hardest content PvE content you can run in this.
100% Dragon Spheres, 100%. The Summoner, I don't like it, but I've been trying to work on it in terms of the controller, getting it more comfortable to play. And yes, I would prefer the old Summoner, hands down. And I really hope we see some changes to the Summoner they have now. Like, why is Dreadworm Trance and Death Flare 2 separate buttons? That makes no sense to me.
I think Pharos is running it right now. Usually is. That's kind of his thing. When he's playing 14, he's most often doing it. He's always trying to solo clear. He wants to, I think his goal has been kind of to slowly solo clear all of Palace of Dead and all of Heaven on High with each class in the game. And so he's had a lot of clears, but he's not done. But, they basically started with 200 floors. They cut it to 100 floors. Then they cut it to 0 floors. And so it just stepped its way all the way into non-existence. It's side content in its entirety. Like Blue Mage. It's a place where jobs don't have to function in a balanced way. It's content that can just kill you for the sake of it, and it doesn't matter. Or you can just kill it for the sake of it, and it doesn't matter. It's
content that doesn't matter.
Just content for content's sake. It's mostly cosmetic. It's a source of experience for some jobs, but it's mostly cosmetic. It's there to challenge you. It's the closest thing to like a Mythic Plus that we have is four-manning that, and it's not Mythic Plus. It's just the closest thing we have. It's kind of like a Greater Rift system from Diablo, but it's not infinite. And it's super tense when you start getting up to, floor 80 or above. It starts to get real sweaty. So it can get real hard real fast. The first 50 floors are pretty beatable. A little bit of practice maybe. But yeah. I will tell you, Black Mage is a job that changes a lot over the expansion. The rotation at 80 is totally different.
What job?
Black Mage.
Huh. I would
disagree
disagree
with that. It is a job whose identity has shifted when I played it in ARR, you like having to move mid fight was like awful.
The to your point, because that's where you have the most Black Mage experience. Yes, from 50 to 60, that was a big shift for Black Mage. But from that point, like after that, that's the one shift, and since then, Black Mage has just gotten pretty, I think, pretty stellar, pretty straightforward, especially when you compare it to the other mages and themselves. Based off of my playtime here with Summoner and how just annoying it is this expansion, I would have to say Red Mage, Black Mage, Summoner, like especially for a new player getting started in this game itself, like yeah, do Red Mage if you want to be a caster, or Black Mage, and then Summoner be like, The only benefit to Summoner would be the fact that you get a Scholar as a healer.
I've seen people show that they have different action bar layouts for every 10 levels of Black Mage. Totally different layouts.
Yeah, people were going to approach and how they lay it out, but the rotation is still a rotation.
Oh, no, it changes. It changes. There's whole abilities that just fundamentally change. It's like Gunbreaker. Gunbreaker of the tanks.
It is Yoshi P's favorite class.
It just strips it out.
So, Dragon Spheres asks, do you think we need a Mythic Plus? And I think we need whatever like we would call that in this game. It has to scale. Like, people say they want harder 4-man content, but if it's that stair-step method of, okay, here's your normal dungeon, and then here's like your extreme dungeon, and it's got such a skill gap that people won't try it. What you got to do is like you got to let people scale it up. So like every 5 levels, maybe there's like a bigger kind of skill gap, but you kind of want to have that logarithm, that kind of curve, so people can find the right spot for their own sanity, and then that would actually help with that replayability of the dungeons themselves. But I don't know how Mythic Plus works. I keep struggling with playing WoW. I struggle with that game.
So Mythic Plus and Greater Rifts are very similar from Diablo. Basically, the idea is that you're going to take a dungeon and you're going to scale up the amount of damage that things do to you and the amount of life that you have to do to it to kill it to an unlimited potential.
Yeah.
And as you do that, you're going to then stack on modifiers that cause fun and interesting things to happen. Mm-hmm. Or when you kill something, it explodes. Or when you kill something, the monsters around it gain a frenzied buff where you have to kill things in a specific order because it's going to cause them to hit harder and harder. So you want to kill the hardest hitters first, or anything that then changes your behavior. And so in Deep Dungeon, your behavior changes as you get to higher floors. And you can put traps in areas, and you can have these palmanders. And so to lean on 14, I would say put in palmanders, put in and have things get harder and harder. And so I would say basically make Deep Dungeon out of dungeons, and probably from a resources standpoint, do it like Unreal. And so we have a single dungeon for a patch cycle. I would love for that to be something that's additive in nature and not we swap it out each time. But if for the first couple, you want to guarantee that people do the new one, maybe you do it just like before. And so take a dungeon that we all know, take Wanderer's Palace or something, and let Wanderer's Palace scale. And for an entire patch cycle, how high can you go in Wanderer's Palace?
How high can you climb?
How high can you go?
And so that actually starts to fill that gap of mid-core content when we talk about, and you've already brought it up, why am I subscribed? What am I playing? Like, maybe I don't engage in this or engage in that. Like, I'm happy Ultimate exists, and I think it needs to. It's really unfortunate it got cut. I'm happy Savage Raids exist. That's content that needs to continue to exist. But they need to create that scalable mid-core content and really refine it into Endwalker. That can just kind of, it will end up helping ease a lot of that burden, because replayability is key. And one thing that helps makes that viable is both difficulty and challenge, and just like variety. And we have so much variety already. Like Chris is saying,
130 instances.
Yeah, you said over the course of a patch cycle, like at some point that could be like every 2 weeks or whatever that, or every month. Let's say like a patch cycle is 3 months ish. Like you could say every month it's a new challenge dungeon, or maybe 2. I don't know. Like at some point so from a development perspective, like as they build out that system and add that content to that system, it doesn't have to be all at once. it could be just like they're doing with the Unreal challenges with Shiva and them. The problem with that is that like there is a skill gap, and you got to let people, and just let the dungeon level up. Hey, level cap's 90. You beat it. Okay, dungeon's level 91 now, or something, and then every 5 levels. Now we're gonna just add a little taste. We're gonna spice it up a little bit.
Where the greater rift system from Diablo then steps on top of that is you're leveling up a side thing. So it's very much like the deep dungeon. You have a set of armor and weapons that modifies your classes. It acts as an in content item level that's unique to that content. So you can earn your way to plus 99 in deep dungeons. And that modifies all of your classes. It's account wide. And so you can kind of unlock that. So you could start us at unsynced. And then what both these systems have done historically is they put you on a timer, and so does Deep Dungeon. And so you slap somebody on a timer and you start them in unsynced. And the faster you get it, the more floors you skip, and you get the rewards from all of it. So if you run unsynced and you run Wanderer's Palace in 5 minutes, you jump to floor 10 and you run Wanderer's Palace plus 10. If you do it in 10 minutes, you only jump to plus 5. If you run it in 3 minutes, maybe you jump to 15. And so it lets you kind of spike it up. And somewhere around, let's say, difficulty 10 or 20 or 30, you're running it on normal. You're effectively running it on normal. And so it starts easier than normal so that people can solo it on any class in the game. And, at some point you've hit it where that's your break point. That's normal. And rewards may decrease after that, or they may move to being cosmetic only after that. And so if there's something like weapons or something that's hidden behind it, it may stop there so that people feel like they have access to those things. And after that, it may be mounts and minions and things like that only. And then you just let it climb to the freaking moon, man. Like if somebody wants to run it on plus 9,000, and it's like, but plus 9,000 is mathematically, theoretically impossible. Okay, well, if they get there, let them try. And then you get pomanders as you clear the chests throughout the run, and these pomanders carry with your run. And so by the time you're at plus 99 on the dungeon, you're using all the pomanders that you didn't use in the first 50 levels because those are too easy. And so it kind of makes it this fun arcade style experience like Deep Dungeon. That's the easiest way to take the existing systems and apply to that. And it's just going to break things. Yeah. Like, just let it break things because it's an isolated area. And so if you guys have played Blue Mage at all, it breaks the crap out of the game. And it's a ton of fun because it doesn't matter. Is Ishgard Restoration still the best method for leveling crafting? Probably.
So Esper asks,
these are pretty quick, but it's up there.
Yeah, Chris. So Esper asks, what would the rewards be in this case, like for these kind of systems? What would you think be something that would motivate you or other players to go and get do these like extra challenging pieces of content?
Historically, there's a finish line somewhere far off in the distance that comes with a title that you can show off. Historically, we've gotten weapon glams, mounts, minions, all behind this, and then loot bags that the majority of the time are going to have magic prisms and materia in them. Historically, it's going to line up with relic systems. It's going to line up with previous deep dungeons. It's going to line up with things like that. It'll drop some tomestones. Historically, it's an alternate weapon progression system that people mostly use for weapon glam. So historically, that's what, like, when talking about a Mythic Plus, I think trying to take it from another game and lift it and put it in here is A, not what I want. B, is not creative. And C, is incredibly expensive because you're building it on stuff you don't have. Everything I'm listing here are systems we do have. We have weapon glams as a premise. We have pomanders as a premise. We have dungeons as a premise that can be run in everything from unsynced to min item level. Like, we have the ability to track things such as Eureka levels or Boja levels or the Aetherite gear levels in Deep Dungeon. So everything I'm talking about here, there is a pre-existing version already somewhere in this game. Right. So it's something that tells me that while I'm not saying it's not without work, it is something they've already proven they're capable of.
So I would marry that system and with the idea that we've kind of covered on Work to Game before, where you have a kind of what I would say glamour merit system. And when I say glamour merit, I mean that a system that doesn't impact Savage Ultimate, like that it's kind of almost like how Deep Dungeon has its own progression system, but it's an addition to your level. So like right now I'm level 80, and it would say, hey, like, great, we have an expansion, level caps goes to 90, but between my level 80 and the next expansion, how many levels of experience do you end up getting, and thus keeping experience as a relevant reward, which will just shower you with just random stuff. Like, hey, every level you open up kind of a loot chest, and it's just gonna, here's some tomes, here's some housing items, here's some mounts. Like, it's just random in terms of that. So it's not like if I do this 100 times, I'm going to get X. So that to the hardcore grinder, it's like, this is just an RNG reward. Like, there's no progression time behind it. There's no like advancement behind it. It's just, thanks for continuing to play our game. And then the difference being is that in this system, in whatever this climbing and challenging system, those levels add to your power, but only in that isolated box. Like, maybe you get a point every level that you can apply to a stat or modify something. So it's just as a way to kind of like, okay, yeah, this is a system. You want to try to get to level 9,000, grind, go nuts, have fun, like, just like go crazy. And then you could put next to your name like Bryn Salazar, level 9,000. It's just like just something in which that it's like, it doesn't impact the core, what people consider the core content of the game. But if you want to go grind, go grind. We're not going to stop you. Thanks for playing. And keep XP relevant, so then anything you're doing in the game itself is feeding you those levels. Anyway, that's just me.
So as we move from what is it to how could it be done to how would we wish it be done, to take it from there and say, now how do we beat WoW at their own game? How do we beat Diablo at their own game? How do we take this thing to the nines? How do we take the parts of what they're doing and add it on top?
Yeah.
Take everything Brian and I have just described and lay on top of it the limited job system. So Torghast Tower is the deep dungeon of World of Warcraft right now. Mm-hmm. It's a finite number of floors, but basically as you go in, you're playing, if any of you have ever played trading card games, there's a format called drafting. And so if you've ever played a Magic the Card game draft or something like that, MOBAs kind of use it at the beginning of a match, but basically you're given a set of choices. And based on the choices you make, it impacts the outcome of the game, right? You're picking a character or something like that. And in a trading card game, you're building a deck. And so the way a draft works of Magic the Card game, and then we'll talk about how that's Torghast, and then we'll talk about how that's 14. Is you go to a game shop, and you buy a specified number of packs, and it depends on how many rounds and things like that. And what'll happen at the beginning of a round is you'll all open a pack, and so you open a pack that you bought, and you'll look through the pack, and you will take out one card. Any one card. Could be the rarest card, could be the card you've always wanted, could be the shiny card, because there's usually, maybe there's a holographic card in there. Whatever you want. You just take a card. And then you pass all of the remaining cards, 15 cards in a pack, you pass them to your left.
Pass them to your left.
And you get the 14 cards from the guy to your right. And you look through those 14, and you pull one card. And you add that. And you continue doing that until you have built a deck. And from there, they provide lands and stuff. That's all communal property. And at the end of the night, all of your non-lands, all of the cards you drew out of those packs, you get to keep those. So there are people who, there's a card that's super rare and it's against the deck they're doing, and they pull that card anyway because they want the card for their own collection. But usually winning the draft tournament, the base done you do, will get you even more packs. And so you kind of want to win. And it's a really fun format to invite people into Magic the Gathering that don't have any cards. They can just show up, learn the basics of the game, and hop right into a draft format, because we're all on equal footing, because we're all getting a random deck dealt to us at the beginning of every week that we show up for draft night, right? Now, what they did in Torghast Tower is, as you go through the dungeon, you come across these abilities, and they pop up, and you have 2 or 3 to choose from, and as you choose them, they blue mage the crap out of your build. And so on Black Mage, they say things like, every time you cast Fire 1, it guaranteed has a Fire 3 proc. Every single time. Well, you just took Black Mage and turned it into kind of Red Mage. But the reason Black Mage is not Red Mage is because it's not balanced for that. And so your DPS just skyrocketed. But against that, you get to choose an ability that says Swift Cast has half the cooldown. 5 months, Mass Gamer, thank you so much. We had another one here earlier, Chrome Buster. Thanks for the Prime sub. And so, like, what ends up happening is you build this deck of changes, and it's random which ones pop up, and there's rare cards and there's common cards, and you want to build a cohesive deck, because if you make Fire 1 to Fire 3 really good, but then you get a bunch of things that make your Lightning really good, that's not as good as something where your rotation literally changes to Lightning, 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 Lightning. And you're just casting different level lightning spells, or you're casting abilities that can be cast on the move, or you're casting all AoE. And so like you can literally change your rotation where suddenly you have a Scathe build, and Black Mage is like, wait, how can you have a Scathe build? Scathe is my instant cast on the run.
Right.
Totally different. Small, thanks for raiding. Welcome, guys. And
Welcome, everybody.
So like what's really fun about Torghast is it breaks the crap out of the game. Now, there's reasons Torghast doesn't work as a system, and you don't want to inherit those. But the way that would work in here is what Brian's saying is, well, now that it's this isolated system, now that we've built a silo and nothing can escape the silo, we don't have to have the rules of the rest of the balance system. We don't have to worry about accidentally breaking Savage or Ultimate. We can just let classes do whatever they want, because when they leave, they have to leave their superpowers inside.
Yeah.
And so within a run, in Wondrous Palace, as you kill each boss, you may get a chance to pick a card. And everybody in the group gets to pick a card, and you just keep dialing it to the nines.
Come on.
And you just get more and more ridiculous. Some cards you can get the same card, and it just continues to stack it. So it increases the likelihood that a Fire 1 causes a Fire 3 proc, and so you're just continually stacking that until it hits 100%. And so it just lets you break your build and play it in a different way. And so it just lets you make. What I like about Blue Mage is that the limited job system lets Blue Mage be really fun. And what this would do is this would let you play a limited job form of any job in the game. And the moment you're done with that content, it goes right back to being a normal job. Super cool. And it would be really fun because right now, when they add a job to the game, when we add Sage or Reaper, there is a brainstorming meeting somewhere in the world where they are saying, these are the things we'd like to see out of Sage. And then they are having to temper those. They're having to tune those back and say, hey, but we got to make it viable as a raid healer. And so there are things being added to make sure that it's viable, right? We don't picture Sage as having a resurrect ability. Well, they have to. So I don't know what to tell you. And
Right.
then the other side of that is there are things that are like, wouldn't it be cool if? And then there's
Necro Dancer.
You can't do that because the other three healers are going to get left behind. And so there are things being cut.
Yeah.
Limited job system says, screw that, man. You want a healer that can't res but can put out massive AoE DPS? Go nuts. Who cares?
Go nuts.
It doesn't matter. None of it matters. And Blue Mage can be that. Blue Mage has an ability that one-shots things. What? It has an ability where it self-detonates and an ability where it final stings. If you haven't final stung a primal to one-shot it, oh man.
You're missing out.
Glorious. Unnecessary. But one-shotting a primal is a blast. Ultra Vibration in a Circus Tower run, where it just one-shots all the ads for the entire 24-man, because one person cast one ability. Oh. Go nuts for donuts. So that's my rant on what Mythic Plus could be.
There we go.
I don't want a Mythic Plus Invitational. I don't want literally Mythic Plus. I want the core concept, the foundational idea, the essence of what Mythic Plus is placed in here, like the piece of sand at the inside of a pearl. And then I want it to be wrapped in all of the things that Final Fantasy XIV is, and we're going to get something very different. I just want the core idea. I want what Mythic Plus represents. If I want to play Mythic Plus, I'll just go log into WoW. I have an active subscription to both. I have a level capped character in both. I can go run Mythic Plus right now. There's nothing stopping me. So when people are like, well, if you just want to play WoW, I do. I already do that. I want to see what the people at Square Enix would do if asked to make a Mythic Plus as a concept. Call it whatever you want. Call it Deep Dungeon Plus. Call it, Dungeon Unreal. Like, I don't care about the branding.
Kevin's supposed to be teaching an online class right now, but no one's shown up. What's up? Hey, Kevin.
Well, I don't know. Traffic, I guess. My mom teaches online. My mom actually just got into a PhD program, so that's gonna ship. Yeah, she's really excited. She's really excited. Yeah. No, 24-man breaks the crap out of things. You can kill what's his name before he casts Final Curtain. Like you can just break things. It's awesome. And I think when it first got delivered, they said, "Hey, we built 3 chapters of this. Here's the first chapter." And then everybody said, "Hey, I like this," or "Hey, I don't." And that's like a TV show getting signed for 3 seasons. Like it really is 3 seasons of content for it. And so like usually you have to make up your mind based on the first season if the second season's going to get a green light. And so what they do is they front load the front season, right? There's lots of intrigue, lots of drama, lots of tell people about this. But Blue Mage basically got greenlit for 3 full seasons. And so that allowed them to slow play it. So season 1 really wasn't that intense. And so I think a lot of people were like, yeah, I played it. It sucked. Okay, well, are you going to come back for season 2 and 3? No, I already know I don't like it. How can you know? They balanced it around 104 abilities that we literally don't know all of. So Blue Mage is just now getting a chance to complete its first thought. And they may never add more to it. They may never add another limited job. That's up to the response. But we knew we were getting chapters 2 and 3 no matter what. And we're there now. We got it. It's level 70. We've got 104 abilities. It may never get another update. Who knows? They have done it before. Sorry, Carbies. Your eggy glamours, I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, jeez.
Never happening.
Summoner just so frustrating.
Well, maybe in 7.0 there just won't be Summoner.
Oh, wow.
We took away the Summoner Scholar pairing. Oh, really? They broke them apart? No, they just deleted half of it. We turned Alice into a Summoner, and then she left the series. She just walked off the stage. Completion done. Don't know what to tell you. That's your 8.0 spoiler, guys. We make an MSQ character into a class. We kill off that character, and the class goes with it. Sorry about your job stones. Can you imagine if they deleted a job? Especially for people that only have that job leveled. We deposited an extra boost in your account. Sorry.
Sorry.
That's how we're getting more armory space, guys. We're just going to delete a job. I can't imagine MMO deleting hardly anything these days.
That'd be nuts.
There's no reason to delete anything. PSO New Genesis is showing us that you can spin up a full sequel and you don't have to delete anything.
Yep.
Like, that's insane.
Yeah. WTF Destiny.
talk about pack rats.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about hoarding earlier within your inventory. PSO2 New Genesis is a whole new game that is keeping a previous game in its inventory. Like, the whole game. It's just like, oh yeah, I'll just put that in my horse pocket. That's ridiculous. There is an entire game inside that game. Can you imagine if I just walked into the inn and they're like, do you want to play Final Fantasy X? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Inside Final Fantasy 14, do you just want to play Final Fantasy X? Like, do I have to buy it? No, you just hop on in.
Hop on in, man.
Like, from inside the game? Like, I know we have Mahjong, but I can just play a whole game.
Yoshi even tease that.
There's some licensing issues, I know, is why they've said that they didn't want to make, like, the arcade stuff, but who knows? These days, we've gotten a lot better about that stuff, too. Streaming contracts have shown us that something can be both exclusive and collaborated.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah. Cough, cough, Destiny, cough. WoW inside 14 would be funny. I'm logging into 14. I'm now connected to WoW.
WoW has shown us another way of doing it, right? We don't have to have it be a game inside a game, but we can have it be 2 games inside the same launcher under the same subscription.
Yeah.
It helps that you aren't having 2 games installed. Because, like, yes, you have to install WoW as a separate client, but WoW Classic's client is, like, because it's a 15-year-old game, you know, it was originally designed to run on a floppy disk and a hamster wheel, and so it just doesn't take any space. Like when I decided to download Classic, I was like, well, I wonder how long it'll take to click to download. I cannot tell you how long it took to click download because I clicked download and then I clicked it again because nothing happened because it was done.
Yeah. Well,
I was like,
Valheim is like,
like
one gig, and it's like, oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it's gone.
It's like when I turned.
Kevin says 16 is actually going to be side content for 7.0.
We deleted the relic grind. Well, what are we getting instead? 16.
Oh.
Somebody'd be mad.
Oh, someone's always going to be mad about something.
I don't know why you can't get 11 with your 14 sub.
They had a disc, like a whole thing with it back in when 1.0 launched, but it was only for like 3 months. It's like, come on, guys, just...
If you opted in, would you still keep it?
Oh, yeah, like if it was one thing, yeah, absolutely. I'd probably play 11 a lot more. It's just hard to kind of like, all right, do I want to... Okay, but if it's just one, it's like, what do I feel like playing tonight, you know? Because the only reason I'm trying to restructure Summoner here is just to kind of help out, new players. Because it is literally the most, like, having been a main Summoner for so long, and now with the 6 point, like with the Shadowbringers 5.0, I'm like, oh, freaking gross. Yeah, I could see 16 and 14 totally collabing. I put it. Somebody sent over a meme on Discord. We tweeted it out. It's like Yoshi P in the meeting collabing with 16, and so it's him on both sides of the table. Just like, yes, absolutely.
Somebody said, who actually plays the mini games inside your inn? And then I think Kenrick pretty much nailed it. Like, what mini games? Like, I think the answer is like, I think there's a lot of people who don't even know there's mini games in your inn. I forgot about them.
Oh yeah, in your toy box.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's like achievements for getting high scores in them, right?
Who knows? Not me. Who even plays those things?
There's probably patch notes videos from those work to game guys somewhere that goes over
somewhere.
Oh, I'd be lying if I said I never had to watch one of my own videos to learn something before. I make a video with the stuff in front of me, and then I'm like, I look back and I'm like, oh.
You mean you don't have perfect retention?
I'm like, where is that quest giver? I think I went over it in a video.
Oh gosh. Oh no. I've never actually gotten hit by anything until this. That was my first time ever getting hit by that mechanic. That's funny.
Llama Todd just eats those.
He's like,
I watched him tanking this video the other day. He has no respect for that mechanic. Doesn't even flinch. Zero movement. You forgot there was an inn, but how do you glamour?
I guess that answers that question. Glamour? Whatever.
That's always where I glamour. I don't know if there are other places that glamour dressers are, but I always go to an inn. Sometimes I get in the habit of doing something one way and they add an easier way to do it, and I just never update what I'm doing. Until eventually it's somebody's pet peeve on watching stream, and they're like, why are you doing this wrong? And I'm like, oh.
I must help Chris learn how easy it is to do this.
Oh, you doing your barracks? I forgot there was one in there.
There's barracks? Okay.
Yeah, your squadron.
I know. I'm just trolling.
If you don't use plates, you don't need an inn. Oh my gosh, I cannot imagine not using plates. You can link plates with jobs, and it just handles things way better. It's like the beginnings of like, okay, somebody has thought about this.
Cool. All right.
I can't remember the last time I've been in my squadron barracks. Probably not a single time during Shadowbringers. It was probably Stormblood.
All right, I'm going to send anybody hanging out here on the YouTube, go to hit the top link in the pin thing. Go hang out with Chris. I'm going to go get some lunch. Thanks, Chris, for letting me join in. for a little bit. I just was like, it was kind of nice. I was like, I don't have any meetings today. Let me hang out with Chris and actually like work on Summoner Controller Guide, which like I started to feel good about it in the raid, but in the dungeon, I was like, I even though I was top tier DPS, it needs some serious work. There's still a lot more thought that I need to put into this. So I thought I was getting close, and it's like every time I think I'm getting close in Summoner, they pull my rug out under me. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna hit end stream. Thanks for being here with me, guys, and then Chris and chat. I'll see you guys